Welcome into the Tour Coach, everybody. Once again, I'm your host, Tony Ruggiero, here on the Tour Coach podcast. Big few weeks coming up. I'm going to be headed this week to Live event in Spain, in Andalusia, Spain. Looking forward to that. And then up to the Open Championship in Scotland. And as we've been doing all through the summer, spring and summer, leading up to and through each major, we're running a contest here on the Tour Coach as well as on our DewSweeper TV, on our YouTube page with the Pro Work episodes that are out. We're going to give away a set of Srixon irons. We're going to draw the Monday after the British Open, the Open Championship for everybody. We're going to give away a set of Srixon irons to one lucky winner. We're going to give away a Wingman Mini from Bushnell. And we're going to give away a little DewSweeper Vineyard Vines prize pack. All you have to do to register for this drawing is go to DewSweeper TV on YouTube. That's DewSweeper TV on YouTube, where you can watch some of our podcasts in video and some live action. But on any of those, all you got to do is like, subscribe, and comment on any video, hashtag ProWork, hashtag DewSweeperTV, or hashtag Tour Coach. So make sure you check us out on DewSweeper TV on YouTube. Great contest going on through the Open Championship, and we've got so much good stuff going on here on the podcast, and with all the content we're coming out. If you're listening, you probably know these are the people and the stories and the folks that I work with, meet with, run across, teach in my daily day-to-day travels, from whether it's in Mobile at my studio to down at Old Palm in Palm Beach Gardens, or maybe even hanging out at Joey D's gym a little with Colby Touye and Aaron McConley, or up at Bluebell in Philly, or a live event or a tour event, or wherever it is we may travel teaching the game of golf. We're going to be bringing it to you here on the Tour Coach. It's insight designed to help you teach, grow, and play the game better. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. And once again, before I get out of here and let you listen to one of our discussions, none of this would be possible without my boy Mitch McConnell, McConnell Automotive, Buick GMC, Bushnell Golf, Srixon Cleveland Golf, and of course the folks back home, Stokely's Midtown Garden Center. You can't forget Blaine, or Taylor, Martino, and Rowan, our boy Ed Rowan. But thanks for all the support through all the years. Keep listening here to the Tour Coach. Go to DewSweeper TV on YouTube. I think you're going to like what you see, and a good chance to win some irons and some other cool gifts from Bushnell and Vineyard Vines through the end of the Open. So we're going to start. We've tried to do this live. I can't figure the damn thing out. But anyways, Tour Coach got in Jackson K Golf and Wayne Flint, two of my buds, people we love doing this. We did this a few weeks ago for the HJ series, which has gone over phenomenal, I think. Had some great comments, and a lot of the stuff on DewSweeper TV has been great. But Jackson, this is going to be kind of one of those just random stream of consciousness, and to everybody, it's fueled by Epic Western right there. So shameless plug. But anyways, Jackson, you want to show your Epic Western?
Yeah, sure. I've got my.
That's because they don't sell them near him yet, but we're going to get Epic Western near Atlanta. We got to get Epic Western in Atlantic Beach Country Club. That's the perfect place for it. Anyway, so perusing social media lately, I've seen some people post stuff with, some funky positions, and everybody just starts this swing your own swing. Just swing your swing. Don't change that. Preach, brother. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, I think that's a crock of shit. And I'm going to pose that. I'm going to throw it to Wayne first. Like, I think this whole swing your swing, first of all, everybody's going to say, well, what about Scotty Scheffler? Well, we're not talking about a kid that's already shooting 62. I'm talking about a guy comes to you that shoots 84, and he's got jacked up position at the top, or his feet are flying all over, or he's early extension and he can't hit it solid. Everybody's just swing your own swing. I think that's a cop-out for actually slowing the guy down or the lady down and actually doing your job, which is to teach them something. And I think one of the problems in our instruction is that you got a bunch of people looking to say they're good without really doing anything, actually really coaching or teaching anything. How about you, Wayno? I'm just curious your thoughts on the whole swing your swing thing. I'm kind of fired up right now. Now I've switched to wine from Epic Western. We're only a minute into this thing.
Here we go, T. If Swing Your Swing was so good, why did they call you? You know, that's my question. I mean, it's not like we're out cold calling people to get students. People are calling us. They've heard that we've helped people, and by the, word of mouth or whatever it is, that's how we get these phone calls. And that's how we develop, new clients and new relationships and all of that. So, I mean, if their swing was so good, they wouldn't be calling wanting lessons. They would just be playing at their club and having a riot and getting better, and everything would be working, and I think we all, as teachers, I think we all have preferences of things that we like in golf swings and things that we don't like in golf swings. I don't want to ever use the word method, because I don't like method teaching that much. I try to give each individual person that comes to me what I think they need for their golf swing, while they're swinging their swing. But, there are things that I'm trying to calm down or adjust slightly or make better in each individual's golf swing that kind of align with, preferences that I have and things that I think are important to make people better, and I'm all the time trying to develop my players into better players. And especially when I get, middle school players or young high school players that have dreams of, playing at the next level, whether that be college or, when they get into college, whether that, has dreams of maybe playing professionally. I think we do them a disservice to leave too many things in their swing that are kind of deal killers, and not address them. I think those things need to be addressed, and the sooner, I think, the better, and if that gives the student a little bit of uncomfortable feelings for a little while they're trying to learn, they can certainly, as you said earlier, they can certainly slow down and learn to hit good shots and go from there. I mean, nothing says you have to learn something new at 105 miles an hour. I mean, you can learn to do it and learn to find the middle of the ball and the middle of the club face and learn to hit solid shots, with the low point being in the right place and the divot and all that kind of stuff. But I think we do our students a disservice if we just kind of blow off some of the things that are harder than others to fix.
Jackson, what about you?
Well, I think I'm still in the nuts and bolts of learning and getting better. So I probably am a little bit more.
That answers why you're good.
Really?
Yeah.
But like, I don't have near the experience time that you guys have with a bunch of different swings. So I feel like I don't have as many dimensions to help people when their swing's all jacked up, right? One of the guys that I shadowed really early on in my instruction said one time that oftentimes he sees where the person creates or how they create power is often where the problems lie. And he was talking about that with your recreational player. And so to me, I think, with the guy that's trying to break 90 or 100, most of those are the guys with families and jobs, or they're older and they're finished with their careers and they're not moving as well. So they do some funky stuff with the club and arms. And I would say that just goes back to what Wayne's talking about, maybe kind of cleaning that stuff and helping them get the low point in front of it and getting it solid. So when stuff is flying all over the place or their body's moving funky, like that's where I think it's okay to kind of get in there a little bit. Obviously change it simply so they don't get worse and they leave with something simple and they can get better right away. But that's still where I'm trying to get better, I think.
Oh, I think that's good, though. And I think it goes back to, we've said stuff, from our old mentor a million times on here, but like, you can't get 10 years of experience in one day, less than 10 years. Right. And I think that one of the reasons I think we spend a lot of time with the golf coach mentoring is to help share that experience. But I also think, not being critical, I'm all for young people or anything, but like, there's people that make some of these posts where they tell people, so much for fixing a guy that's 40 degrees across the line. And they put up, my favorite's another one, this yo-yo put this picture up with all these clubs in all these crazy different positions. So you're looking at the best players, best athletes ever played the game, right? And they're really good. And I'm not saying none of us wouldn't have messed them up. But Joe or Mary six pack that walks on your tee that shoots 105 because they've got a club face that's 10 degrees open and it's pointing across, and they throw the shit out of it coming into it. Like, I mean, how is that picture of Byron Nelson going to help them? Right? Like, I just think that, and I also think that a bunch of those folks haven't seen enough or dealt with enough good players to necessarily always make that assumption about what to fix. And I take that extremely seriously, as Wayne knows, Jackson, like when I start with a good player, like I had a lady golfer who's, fairly known, right? I had questions about something being unique and should I change it or how to work around things. And I sent it to Wayne, I sent it to, Brady Riggs, half a dozen people that have had tons of experience and that trusted to pick their brain before I would interject something. Right? I mean, and sometimes, I'm curious what you think about this, Wayne. There's some people that have become great with some things in there that we would say are not traditional, and they've become great. Did they just overcome that thing because they were already great? Would they have been better if somebody would have fixed something earlier on? I mean, how do you know?
Well, that's just the great unknown. I mean, that's like comparing, Bob Cousy or one of those guys way back in the day in basketball against Michael Jordan. I mean, it's hard to ever tell how that could have worked, and you can look at any golf swing, from the most aesthetically beautiful looking swings like the Adam Scotts of the world and those people that, and you can pick those things. You can find something wrong on any golf swing. So, but who's to know, or who's to say that if you'd have fixed just that one thing, that could have made him win 12 majors instead of what's he won? I think one major, right? Who knows? But I do think the earlier you get a hold of kids, and I think the more solid you make their fundamentals early on, I think that gives them a wonderful chance of seeing how good they can get through good hard work, disciplined practice, addressing their physical issues with guys like K. Wayne and people that can help get their bodies more ready to play, which is really something that I've learned from hanging around you a lot and K. Wayne, how important that really is. So those are things that 20 years ago nobody even talked about. That all you ever heard was golfers weren't real good athletes, and you had to be short to play golf. Couldn't be more than 5'9" or 5'10". That's because club fitting wasn't as good and the equipment wasn't as good and their bodies weren't in as good a shape. And that's why your driving distances have gone up every year. And has the equipment helped? Well, of course it has. The balls don't spin as much, and the club hits that thing harder, and the ball gets out of there a lot faster than it ever did when we were growing up hitting woods, right? I mean, it's a different game. And so I think all the stuff that's come along with that is fantastic, but it really doesn't beat, you never can beat good grip and good balance and good pivots and on plane shafts. I mean, for people to say that swing plane doesn't matter, I understand that Ray Floyd was way off plane, and I understand Jim Furyk is way off the plane. But when they come down, they're in pretty doggone good shape. And these are the best players in the world, and that's not to say that we would want to teach everybody to have a backswing like Jim Furyk or Ray Floyd. I think, if you're getting the people that come to us for lessons, your average golfers that are club level players that want to get better, I think you've got to give them some sort of an understanding of what square club faces are and what they do, what you can do with the square club face, and what the swing plane is, and how the closer you can get them to swinging it up and down the plane, the better chance they have when the club head changes direction, starts to head down to the ball. if the butt end of the club's pointing at the target line and the club wants to change direction and head down to the ball, you got a little bit better chance of running the club head into the ball if it's following that same path or that same angle. So I don't know how you could ever say that, having a 16 or 18 handicapper and getting them closer to swinging it on plane through, good grip and good posture and, good arm function and hand and wrist function that's ever going to hurt a player. I don't see that argument, and I can't really agree with that argument at all.
I had an interesting conversation the other day during a lesson with Kenny Lofton. You remember center fielder for the Indians, right? In my opinion, could be a Hall of Famer, right? And it was fascinating. And he loves golf, but I was talking about, I was trying to get him to turn through, more level, hit down. And then he got talking about how, which is similar to golf with all the technology and all this, everybody's like trying to create this launch, right? And he was saying the same thing in baseball. And he was saying how, there's guys that hit a lot of home runs, but they strike out a lot because, they're trying to create speed and power. And so they get under it, basically swinging up. And he's like, he was taught, man, you go level and swinging down, you got more room to hit the ball. It was a fascinating conversation. I need to have him come on this podcast and talk hitting. It was awesome, but it reminded me a lot of what we've gone through in golf instruction. And so, and I think that that another part of the fads and the swing your own swing bullshit that drives me crazy is where people teach a lesson, they put a couple things up, and then they just take a picture of the Bushnell or the quad or the TrackMan, and they say, this guy picked up 3 miles an hour. He's a better golfer. So I'm going to use the old HJ analogy. So he hit it 12 yards further in the fucking woods, right? So now we got to get him to chip through 4 more trees, right? Right. And I don't think, and I know the game is very speed oriented now, but I think that I've always thought this. I've thought, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, so everybody yell at me, but you go to a Hooters tour event and you go to a Latin tour event, you go to Korn Ferry event, you go to PGA Tour event, some of these guys earlier and younger hit it way further than the guys on the tour. And the speed numbers are crazy. But as you go along and you get to the tour, you develop shots and things you have to do to play the game, to manage your game. And sometimes Tony Finau's an example. When all the Bryson stuff was going, he put us to video somewhere where he took a full swing, speed numbers and carries crazy off the planet, right? But he's learned how to play golf with that. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are, Wayno. I'd love to hear this about the whole speed and the launch monitor stuff. I think obviously provides us great tools, and there's nothing wrong with them. I've got a zillion of them. But to me, another one of the fads that I think is bullshit is there are people just post a picture and they're like, this guy picked up 3 miles an hour. He's way better. And I've taught some of these people that have been to those lessons. They're like, yeah, I did it 3 times in this building off a mat, and now I can't hit it for shit, and I'm still shooting 92.
Yeah,
if you're shooting 92, why would 3 miles an hour matter?
Exactly. And if we see 3 more miles an hour, my question would be, where did the ball go?
Right.
Was the ball in play?
And can the guy do it again when he leaves the building?
Yeah, and can he do it? Can he do it on the first tee with 12 of his buddies watching? Can he do it every time? Or does he have a shot that he can put the ball in play? I remember one time, Bob Toski told me a long time ago, it's kind of like playing tennis. You can't really start the point until you get your serve in the box, and you could hit your tennis ball 500 miles an hour, but if you can't get it in that box over the net, you're going to double fault every time and you're going to lose. So, speed is fantastic, but you've got to be able to put the ball in play and go find that thing and hit it again. And there's a lot more to playing competitive golf well than just hitting it far. You have to be able to put that ball in play when you're not playing your best. You have to be able to put that ball in play when you're playing fantastic and your nerves are jumping out of your chest. You got to be able to put that ball in play. and then you've got to be able to manage that and put it in the right portion of the green or the right side of the pin or whatever the case may be to get yourself through those rounds and continue to make birdies and so on and so forth. So there's so much more to playing golf well competitively than just how fast you can swing a golf club. There's no question about that.
Correct. And I think that when you're looking at I just think that also, and Jackson, then I want your opinion, but like, first of all, coaching and teaching, like, obviously we try to get them to do a lot of the same things, but a player that's already playing for a living is a different animal and a different job that we do than a person that comes to see me at Old Palm that shoots 86. Right? I'm going to a lot of the same things, right? But I might jump in there and fix a grip and a club face that's slightly open with a guy that shoots 86, where I wouldn't with a tour player who's already made $2 million for the year, but is struggling a little, right? Like, I mean, I think people have to understand that too. Jackson, what are your thoughts on some of the fads and things we talked about? By the way, you're sitting up a little better this last couple times we've had you on, you had to lay down.
Yeah, I'm moving a bunch better. I think fads that I would want your guys' insight into is you can see where instructors will get on one topic for a long period of time, like it's revolutionary, and then all of a sudden it drops off and they're on something else, and that's all they post for a little while. You see the same thing with training aids too, right? All of a sudden a new training aid comes out, and that is the end all be all for every person.
Which, by the way, get your pivot pack. Wherever you are, go on Amazon and get your DewSweeper pivot pack. Go ahead.
Right. I just see
changing the world one pivot at a time, Jackson.
Yeah, but it's not one dimensional, right?
No, I mean, you can do the great thing to me about the pivot pack, not to shamelessly promote it, but is if you wanted to have a front post, a center post, a rear post, if you wanted a person across the line, if you wanted a club face open, if you wanted structure, whatever, you could, if you want the pressure on you can get them to do whatever by using resistance and movement patterns, changing movement patterns. You can have them train whatever they want.
Yeah.
But that stuff doesn't sell as good as just one size fits all. Everybody go the same place.
Well, that would involve. That's because it involves a little more work, right?
Yeah. What else, Jackson? What else you
got? I don't know. I think just getting your opinion on trends with topics too in golf instruction, whether it's short game or full swing, and how you'll see coaches put out the same thing for every different person, and then that trend is over, and then it goes on to the next one, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I know I put out a lot of stuff, and I'm probably guilty too. Like, there's a lot of stuff on loading, there's a lot of stuff on structure, and the things that I teach. I will say the one thing that I believe firmly in is, like, and I know, Wayne, you put stuff up, Jackson, you do, like, I put stuff with real students. And I think that helps people from the fact that, like, Stevie Schmo is flipping through and he's like, hey, that guy's build looks kind of like mine. Or, hey, that position at the top looks kind of like mine. And I also think it builds validity to what you're doing. If you've got students and you can post through the week and you've always got different students or different people in there, it shows, one, you're busy. And I think if you're busy, Chris Como and I were talking about this at the PGA. We were sitting downstairs and he was like, we're talking about when he did his show. And it's like, hey, I mean, the guy's had success and he's taught a bunch of people and he's really busy. Whether you agree with him or not, he's got to be doing something right. There's something valid about it because his lesson book is full, right? But, like, if every day something's coming out and it's just them demonstrating, I mean, are they teaching it to anybody, and has it worked with anybody is what I'm saying. And I think I learned that from you and HJ, Wayne. Like, I mean, first and foremost, everything should be about, are your people getting better before anybody decides how good you are?
Well, I think that's the main judgment is, did
the
people
question.
do the people keep coming back? Are they pleased with your lesson? Do they see value in your lesson, based on the amount you're charging them? And no matter how nice a guy you are, if you got a guy that comes to you shooting 90 and 4 years later he's still shooting 90, he probably ain't gonna keep coming forever, right? You've got to make those people better. And it's amazing, but that's how I built my business, just making people better over a little bit of time. And the next thing you know, all their friends recognize that, and they can see that, and they're like, wow, this is great, I'm going to go try that, right? And I think those things happen when you have plans or programs for your people that are based on some tried and true solid fundamentals. Not that we all shouldn't be looking at the new stuff and trying to learn as much as we possibly can from it, but does that really mean that the latest thing that we learned about how to get more speed at the bottom part of your golf swing, is that really what a 28 handicapper needs at that point in time? Or do they really just need to hold it better and learn to hinge their left wrist flat and get the club square to the plane and turn their body and hit a good pitch shot where they make solid ball ground contact, hit the ball first and then the ground? And maybe that's what they need, to continue to be able to make themselves better and better players. And that's not to say that as their handicaps lower and lower, that you don't introduce some of the cool stuff that we get to learn, and things we learn from the launch monitors and the force plates and the pressure pads and all that stuff. I mean, I think those things are great, but I just don't think you teach every single person the same thing just because you've got that piece of golf technology. I think there's got to be a lot more to it than just basing everything off of one piece of technology and saying this is it for me.
I also think that we owe it to our students to do our due diligence to keep learning. But before you start throwing shit against the wall in a lesson, you really understand what you've learned and what you're teaching and what you're trying to get them to do. And I mean, obviously doing this podcast and some of the stuff, I get to go and do, like talk with people all the time. Like I don't just, a lot of times somebody will say something and I'll think about it for 3 months before I try it in a lesson, or I think, oh man, this thing, perfect example. George Gankis was at a live event, and we were talking, and he was telling me something he did with this young guy that was that played in the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open was the next week, and we were talking about it. And I was like, well, hell, man, that's kind of what. Anyways, it was a great drill. Visually did whatever, and I tried it with a guy, right? Like, but I thought about it. I didn't just jump out there and start doing it with everybody. It was, and I think that that's another thing that, whether you're a player or you're a teacher, I think when you hear something and you learn something, like you owe it to your students to think about it, understand it before you just start trying it on people as guinea pigs. And Wayne and you and I have had this conversation. There's been some people that we're friends with that had big influences on us that, like, I think they experimented with students. Okay. 100%. Right. And I think sometimes that screws people up, and they're paying you good money. I don't think your student should be your damn guinea pig.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And you're right. I've seen that in the past in my career. I've watched that happen.
Coaches and teachers have done that with tour players and ruined.
Right. I've seen that happen for sure. And I tried a long time ago, 25 years ago, when I first started teaching private golf lessons. I worked a lot of golf school stuff before I ever went into just teaching individual golfers and doing a lot of what I do now. And I vowed to myself that I was never going to teach anything that I didn't totally understand and be able to talk well about it, be able to explain myself and be able to talk at length about why I was doing something. And as I've gone along in my career, I have now tried to get to where I can tell people what's going to happen next based on, if we do this and this today to fix your golf swing, this will be the next one or two things coming down the line. that I think, we'll be doing as you get better at learning to do what we're talking about today. And I think that's a great thing if you can, get young teachers to get to that point where they're not just saying, try this, try that, hoping it might work, but really sticking to the lesson plan that they've made up for that individual student. Hey, I'm going to fix this club face and get it square to the plane. I'm going to do that come hell or high water. And, if they hit it fat a few times or skull it a few times, they don't just bail out on that idea and go do something else, hoping the person hits a good shot. I think you stay in there and you stay committed to the decision that you've made as a teacher to what you want the student to learn to do. And you help them coach them through learning to do that, being right in the trenches with them. Sometimes that's hard, sometimes they don't hit it well for a few minutes. And, we all want our students to just hit it great after we give them our little one piece of magic information, right? Because that makes us look good, but that doesn't always happen, as we all know, right? But I think when you stick to your guns, I think that shows the student that you do indeed have a plan of what you're trying to do and where you're trying to take them. And then I think as you get a little bit further along and a little bit better, if you can start telling them where you're going to go next, I think that shows them great value for your services, where they are like, this guy does have a plan for me. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to be a little more at ease during my lessons. And I'm really going to try to commit to doing things exactly the way he tells me to try and do them. And I think that's one of the things as you get a little further along in teaching, you get a little bit more credibility. I think the people are apt to hang in there.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Listen to you. Right. I really do.
Come on, T, give me something else that boils your blood on social media.
I mean, I've vented about most of it. I lost my train of thought. I almost had a good zinger, but I lost my train of thought. But, well, one, I mean, well, this isn't social media, but if I was a student and, I wanted to, like when we go to restaurants and stuff, we use Yelp reviews and shit like that, right? Like, I mean, I think that it's important, like when you're taking a lesson, like, does your teacher have a plan for you? You should know that. You should be able to say, like, hey, what do you think's wrong? What do I need to do to fix it? Where are we going with this? And if they can't answer that, then you're probably in the wrong place. And then the other part is like, I think that, if they're telling you what you need to fix and why, there should be examples and different ways to fix it. And there should be probably some stories and some examples they've got of people that they've fixed some similar stuff. I mean, it's what I think.
What about copycats on Instagram?
Like, I remember 10 to 12 years ago, first time Colby came to work with me at Country Club of Mobile. And we were on the range, and he was doing stuff with resistance band to help people load. And I remember putting that stuff out, and everybody thought I was crazy. Okay. Some of these top teachers, and they're the top of the top, and they TPI everybody in their nuts. But like now they're on there and they're using resistance, and they're pulling a guy's leg, trying to straighten it so he'll learn to fight. Like, it's just amazing, how people start using other people's stuff that they used to think was not very good, and now they're geniuses. That's all I'll say.
That's all I have to say about that.
I mean, it's true though.
Well,
so if you use people's stuff, and that's what's great about social media. Like, I used something of George Gankis that he learned, and I gave him credit in a post. Okay. I don't use everything that I see George do, but I mean, he's got some unbelievable. I've told you, Jackson, I like some of his stuff, right? Like, and he's always been great to me, very personable. Like, hey, man, like, so but I do think that's something that teachers and people should be better about, is giving people credit for the stuff that they do. Don't just put it in your reel and act like, but now there's been a ton of great young teachers that have been sending videos and doing there's a some guy I got to remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. Man, he posts all the time. He tags me or me and Colby or Morgan or whatever, or you, Jackson, or Wayne, whatever. Like, I think that stuff's great. We want to use it, right? And I understand why some of the great teachers, I know, Mike Adams, they get, and other people, they get pissed, like, so-and-so's taking my stuff and they don't give credit. I see why people get frustrated with that, because I think it's a copycat business. Everybody likes to pop out with shit, think they started everything. And look, the resistance band stuff, I learned it from Colby, but Wayne, you can vouch. Hank was doing that stuff in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I mean, back when Hank and I were doing a bunch of stuff together, they had ASMI, Alabama Sports Medicine Institute, and we were doing 3D stuff back then with like 9 cameras, right? And reflectors on people's shoulders and elbows. And, they were measuring all the stuff way back then. And, we were using that. You remember the boxes of blue tubing I used to buy, and right. I'd cut it and tie it around my students' legs, and I'd give it to them to take home with them, and let them have that to work with, and to try to keep, more of a base in their legs, kind of like we're still doing today with those nice stretch bands that we have, those
in the pivot pack,
the one and that green one in the pivot pack, exactly, and that green band and the pivot pack that you can get some width in your arms at the top. I mean, that Hank introduced me to that way back when, and I mean, I've been doing that ever since the Eagle Point days, right, which was a long time ago, right? And I think that's great, and that's the essence of this business, is we should all learn from each other, and like you said though, I think the not giving credit is just in an effort to try to get famous as quick as you possibly can, to be the next, the hottest guy in town, and I can't blame anybody for trying to get ahead, because we all want to get ahead. And, that's one thing that's always impressed me with Jackson, is he's always given credit, right? I
just think in the end, I've learned a bunch from Parsons. And when I'm teaching a lesson, if I do something I learned from him, give him credit, right? Like, I'm teaching a lesson and I'm doing something I learned from whoever, Mike Adams, I did something the other day, right? Like, hey, I saw this one time, whatever. I think that's something. And I think, anyways, I just think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Jackson,
I mean, I for sure do.
Anything else? We've been on here a while. Anything else?
No, it's good. What else, Steve?
Nothing. I think we're pretty good. Don't you?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right?
No.
Like, all this
Go make
info
people better. Go make people better. And if you're a student, go find people that make people better, right? But don't you think? One time I remember Brady and I were talking about something. It's like, when you go take a golf lesson, you should go take a lesson from somebody who's made someone worth a shit one time. Right?
At some point, has made someone good, right? That's right.
Yeah. Shit. Anything else, Jackson, before we go?
Nope. Thank you.
Wayno, thanks for doing this.
It was fun, guys.
We want to crank this out. We'll do it again soon.
More. That was good fun. It's always fun.
We're going to put out another HJ series in a month or so and let that roll. I think we'll go to the Power series. I think that'll be a good one. But so everybody stay tuned. Follow this stuff on DewSweeper TV. Jackson, Wayno, you're the best. We'll look forward to doing it soon.
Thanks, Steve.
See you, buddy.